Shantai. I am a retired egg donor, and I did not get an A in public speaking, so I'm going to do my best. My first donation, I'm also a mother of two, sorry, and I work for Dr. Doyle. My first egg donation was a directed donation where I knew the couple, and I have worked in infertility for about 13 years. So about 9 years ago, I was pregnant with my son. I had a patient actually approach me to become her egg donor. She had suffered multiple cycles, failed, maybe about 7 or 8 failed in vitro cycles. So I was able to, we got to know each other just over time, with her coming in for blood work, and we would carry conversations, and every time she was coming in, she was actually interviewing me to the point where I thought she was stalking me. So to the point where at one time she came in and I saw her coming through the door, and I turned around to my coworker and I said, I don't want to speak to her today. You know, there's something weird going on with her. I was about 6-7 months pregnant, and she came up to me shortly after that and had asked me to be her egg donor. 5'9", about 130 pounds, and Italian, and her husband was from Ireland. And she said, well, I want you to be my egg donor. And I looked at myself and I said, wait a minute, because I was 7 months pregnant and about a beach whale. I was huge and Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican. And I said, are you sure, is this a prank? And she said, no. She goes, I want you to be my egg donor. So long story short, I had my son, and about 3 months after I had my son, I donated for her, and she has a little girl now. I then went on to do an anonymous donation. I heard it was successful, thank you. But I do not know the couple. So I have to say that my experiences were gratifying and rewarding, and you know, it's just something that I was just, it was a great experience. It was a journey. It was hard. I do have to say, my first donation, even working in the field, I never realized what egg donors actually go through with screening and psychological testing and genetic testing and drug testing, infectious disease, you name it, I went through it, and I have to say it was a lot. I stuck through it, very responsible, and you have to be truly, truly dedicated. And to have had a 3-month-old at the time, it was a little difficult, but my husband helped a lot. At first he wasn't, I don't think he was really open to it, but he actually had a lot of time to think about it because I was 7 months pregnant, so it was about 6 months until my donation. Any questions? Anything?
Are there circumstances where you actually would know the parents, and the egg donor would know the parents? Because that's kind of secret, isn't it? You don't really get the details of the egg donor. You get the first name and the details, but you don't get.
No, she was a known donor for the first one.
Yeah, the first one, yeah, but I mean.
Well, even that was a bit unusual. Just to add one thing,
Okay.
Even if Shantai was a more typical egg donor in the sense that she wasn't professionally affiliated, and it varies from clinic to clinic in the United States. In my clinic, 90% of my donors are open to being identified, and 90% of the people with whom I work wish to have a non-anonymous donation. And so it's quite typical, and in fact it's usual and normal for donor and recipients to get to know each other at several points before the actual donation. And then afterward, not so much. That's a more up to you kind of situation, but that's the experience at my clinic in Connecticut. Some clinics, and probably most in the United States, are strictly anonymous, so this option of having contact would not even be available. It wouldn't be discussed. So it really varies from individual. People usually ask 2 questions, that and about the money, and it's a sensitive, and I'm going to put it out there because people assume that why that on some high level, there's a strong financial incentive. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you about your experience with especially with the person who was stalking her. Because there's an underbelly to egg donation. There are agencies and clinics that don't follow the rules or the guidelines and allow a supermodel Olympic athlete with high IQ, they can do 20, 30, 40,000 donations. It becomes very much a buyer-seller kind of relationship. I really am proud of, I know the answer to this question, but I think it's worth saying.
Okay. I actually, for egg donation, you are compensated $8,000. And because I was able to see everything she had gone through with her multiple cycles, and she always did mention how expensive and what she was doing to go through her treatment, home equity loans, taking out a loan here, taking out a loan there, and she never was able, there was nothing that ever came out of it. So I actually donated, I did not want any compensation from her. She did buy me a pair of earrings and a necklace, and I was very, very happy with that. More so, it was just more of a gift to me that she has a child, and was my goal, and to fulfill her dream. And the second donation, yes, I was compensated, and I actually used it towards school and my family.
I was asking my question because a lot of people have asked me, if you had a child, and the child would want to know who the biological mother is, what do you do?
If you anticipate the importance of that, which I don't understand why everybody doesn't anticipate the importance of that, then you exercise your option to work within a program that affords you a non-anonymous match. I will say it's different. It doesn't mean that when your child's 16 or 18 that there's going to be communication. That's an entirely separate issue, because what somebody's comfortable doing when she's 23 or 24, which is meeting you or having a meal with you or spending a little bit of time, is entirely different than when she's 40, and an entirely, of course, different time in her life, which may or may not involve issues relevant to her own fertility or her husband's fertility. Or what. The studies that have looked at this have strongly suggest that the long-term follow-up, long-term communication and contact with donors is actually very unusual in the United States. You just change your email. Change your email address or move away. I have no way of delivering her to you any more than you have to contact her. Her wish is to not be contacted. So non-anonymous is really more of a at the time of the donation. But if you're a single dad or a gay dad, and it's not a question of whether your child's going to ask you someday, tell me about. Those are inevitable, anticipatable conversations that if it's like what we've learned from closed adoption. If the answer is, I don't know, I have no information, I never got any information, and I have no information, no way to get you information, that's a very troubling answer to a child that might understand that you might have been able to do it differently. For if you're a heterosexual couple that perhaps doesn't choose to disclose all of the details of the conception, then those conversations are not necessarily inevitable. But we are proud to open donations, and everything about this should be something that you proudly pursue and own and talk about. And I know I speak for all of us on that subject.
I can kind of touch on that a little bit. I'm the matching coordinator. I do set up couples to meet their egg donors and to have a Skype and get to know each other. And typically it's a lot so that you can get a sense of her personality, maybe a little bit more information than what's in her profile. But many of my own egg donors do form a relationship that's a little bit, does go on than just before or after the retrieval. But I think that's something that, depending on how they feel, how her connection is with you as well. So I think, you have that option depending on who you match with.